Hello, I'm Cliff.
And I'm Jean.
And we are back with Song Lovers Online.
Yes,
what
we
a
are.
wonderful thing to do.
We took a hiatus over the holidays. Hope everybody had a good holiday.
Hope so.
Here we are.
And we're doing things a little bit different now. So I've put out a couple of pleas for your favorite hymns. Some people have responded and some people still need to respond. But we're taking fewer hymns. So today we only have 4. But they're hymns that meant something to some people, and we'll talk about those. You may even see a little video or two of other people talking about why they like their hymns. We're going to go maybe into a little greater detail than we did because we're not trying to get through a book.
Right.
So we'll maybe do a little bit greater detail and come up with some more interesting facts and whatnot. And if you have any comments about any of these hymns, or if you have hymns that you're interested in having us sing, then please either write it down in the comments below. I think it's down there somewhere.
Yes.
I'm trying to imagine being on a YouTube screen.
Yes, it is. It's in the comments. It's on the left side.
Yeah, and I think you can comment, so
Yeah.
you could actually put a hymn in there, and I think I'd be able to see that.
I think you would.
Or you could just do the old-fashioned email me, or like they said in the Click and Clack, the Tappet Brothers, write your hymn choices on the back of a $20 bill.
Yes. $20 bill, yeah.
So we do hope that you enjoy what we're doing now, and I'm going to.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. A lot of it will be things we've already done, but hey, we get a chance to do them over again. And I think it's interesting to hear why things are important to people.
Exactly. So, Jean, what's our first?
Okay, well, our first one is 314. It's a chant. It's found in the Eucharist section of the hymn book, 1982. We're in Humbly I Adore Thee. The text for this was written by Thomas Aquinas, great theologian. He studied with the Benedictines and then he became a Dominican. He taught theology in Paris. He was very much influenced by Aristotle. I think a lot of those folks were influenced by the Greek philosophies at that time. So anyway, he had what has been called a principal theological mind and a voluminous writer. So the Pope at the time, Pope Urban VI, commissioned him to write a mass for the feast of Corpus Christi, including hymns. We're not sure.
It might be his, and it might not be his.
It might not be his.
And that's the whole idea of hymn research. With some of these old ones, oftentimes we just don't know.
Yeah, we don't. Anyways, the original hymn had 7 stanzas, and it was a devotional meditation on the mystery of Christ's presence at Holy Communion. We have kept only 4 in our hymn book, 1, 2, 5, and 7 of the original. This is very interesting, though, the one about verse 6 that is translated into, Dear Pelican, Lord Jesus, cleanse me unclean in your blood, one drop of which could save the entire world from all wickedness. It's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And the medieval legend is that the pelican can revive her dead children with her blood. Or there's another legend that says the pelican feeds her young with her own blood when food is scarce. So that's kind of
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
And another symbol for Christ.
The tune is called Adoro Devote. It is a French diocesan tune from the parish processional of 1697. It was paired with the text for the Feast of Corpus Christi. It's not easily put into bar lines. It's definitely a chant.
Definitely a chant. And many have tried, and it doesn't work very well.
This is one of my favorites too. This one very much to me symbolizes communion, the Holy Eucharist. Obviously the words and the text and everything are very much about it, but it's, to me, this is one of my 100 faves.
Yeah, one of mine too. And I think what really draws me to this one is the tune.
Yes.
I love the imagery in the text. I love the mystery of the text.
Yes.
But I love the tune. And as for chant tunes, Hymnal 1982 is chock full of chant tunes. And many of them are not easy to sing. However, this one is. There's enough repetition in this one that it's easy. You sing the first verse if you don't know it. You sing the second verse. By the time you hit that third verse, you're rolling.
Yeah, it's easy. Okay.
All right. Here's your intro.
Humbly I
I have a lot of favorite hymns, but I've chosen one that is not sung very often. Hymn number 487 in Hymnal 1982. Come my way, my truth, my life, also referred to as the call, is based on John 14:6, where Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. I love the threefold structure of each verse, which expands upon and for me enriches those words as we call upon Jesus to come into our lives. The poetry is wonderful. Come my way, my truth, my life, such a way as gives us breath, such a truth as ends all strife, such a life as killeth death. Verses 2 and 3 call Jesus as the light of the world and the joy in our hearts. I think it's a very powerful hymn, and I hope you enjoy it also.
Okay, so our next hymn is Come My Way, My Truth, My Life, which is number 487 in your 1982 hymnal. This is a very familiar hymn. It was written by George Herbert. Anyway, George Herbert, he was quite the poet. He was born in Montgomery, Wales. He died in Salisbury, England. He was a fellow of Trinity College at Cambridge in 1615 and a public orator of the university in 1619. He was ordained in 1626. He served at Lytton, Rumswold, Huntingdonshire for a couple of years, but he had to leave because of illness. He then became rector of St. Andrews in Bremerton, Wiltshire in 1630, where he stayed until his death. He died of consumption. Lots of people died of consumption back then.
Today we call that tuberculosis.
Yes, we do. And it is a bacterial disease that we now have cures for. So they didn't have it back then.
Not in 1633?
No, they did not.
They hit you with a leech and
That
drain
was it.
half your blood.
Yeah.
And
Which
blow
didn't
dust
help
at
anyway. So he's buried under the altar of that church. He was also known as Holy Mr. Herbert. In the 20th century, people became really interested in his works, and today we recognize him as one of the literary and spiritual giants of the English church. Several composers have set his texts, and that would be Purcell and John Blow and Ralph Vaughan Williams, whose 5 mystical songs are all Herbert poetry and really fine. I think people are rather familiar with that. The Call comes from that.
Mhm.
Let All the World and Every Corner Sing comes from that. Yeah. So anyway, the tune is called The Call, and it was composed by Ralph Vaughan Williams, or Rafe Vaughan Williams, as they call him. He, born 1871, died in 1958. He studied at the Royal College of Music with some, rather unknown musicians like C. Herbert H. Perry and Charles Stanford. I think we've sung stuff by those guys. And then in Berlin with Max Bruch, and in Paris with Maurice Ravel. So he really had some great guys teaching him.
Yeah, quite the resume.
He's also a friend of Gustav Holst. Just why not? So he had no patience with pretense and regarded musical choices, including hymnic ones, as moral matters. Very.
How's that for interesting?
I think that's very interesting and very serious about that.
Yeah, especially hymnody.
Yeah. And he really understood hymn tunes, and he concerned himself with them and with congregational singing. I mean, some of our favorite hymns are written by him.
Mm-hmm.
They really are. So anyway, He collected folk songs, he edited the English hymnal, and he wrote hymn tunes and incorporated hymn tunes and folk tunes into many of his compositions. So the setting from his work entitled Five Mystical Songs is for baritone, chorus, and orchestra. And the call is the fourth movement in this work. And it's the only chorus, or the only piece that the chorus sits out. We have it in the hymn book all in the same key, all 3 verses or 4 verses, I can't remember, 3, in the same key. In the call, it modulates in the middle of it and becomes a little bit more dramatic, which underlies the text
Right.
perfectly.
Right.
So, because this is literary license time, and we're doing what we want to do, we're going to do the Ralph Vaughan Williams version that is in this work, the 5 mystical songs.
What I think is interesting about this is that even though Rafe did not mean this to be a hymn, and it's become a hymn, it's very singable. His melody
Yes, it
is
is.
very singable. And I'm sure the editors did not want to do that modulation at the end.
Probably not.
And the text, I think, is interesting. Everything is single syllable, except for one word. Do you know which one that is, Jean?
Killeth.
Killeth. Everything else is a single syllable.
Yeah.
Everything else.
Yeah.
These
It's
poets,
interesting.
as they work these things around, they come up with schemes like this.
Well, and Killeth has a bite to it, so we would kind of emphasize that.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go.
All right.
Come my way, my truth, my life, such a way as gives us breath, such a truth as ends our strife, such a life as killeth death. Come, my light, my feast, my strength, such a light as shows a feast, such a feast as bends in length, such a strength as makes his guest. Come, my joy, my love, my heart, such a joy as none can move, such a love as none can part. Such a heart as joys in love.
Hi, everyone. Cliff asked me to share a little about why Here I Am, Lord is one of my favorite hymns. Every time, yes, each and every time I hear and sing Here I Am, Lord, I am reminded of how mighty and powerful our God is, and how much He loves us, and how much I love Him and want to serve Him. And I always question as we sing, am I worthy? Here I am, Lord. Is it I, Lord? I have heard you calling in the night. If you lead me, I will follow, and I will hold your people in my heart. Amen.
And here we go to Daniel Schutte, and Here I Am, Lord, comes at us from number 812 in Wonder, Love, and Praise. Daniel Schutte writes in the Catholic folk tradition, the post-Vatican II, when the Catholics decided that they needed to change around their music and the structure of their worship. Daniel Schutte was born in Wisconsin. He's a Jesuit priest. He worked on the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota. He taught high school theology and music, and then he became the director of music at Immaculate Heart of Mary, Our Lady of Lourdes, and Corpus Christi parishes in Milwaukee. He served there as a layman. In 1999, he moved to San Francisco, where he is still composer in residence at the University of San Francisco.
How about that?
Yeah, so it's like he's not really doing his priest thing. He is a priest,
No,
but he's not doing the
he's
priest
not.
thing.
Yeah,
He's doing
yeah.
the music thing, and that's very
Cool.
nice. This is based on Isaiah 6. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? And I said, Here am I, send me. It was written in 1979 for a diaconal ordination at Oakland Cathedral. And the interesting form of this is that the verses are God's words, and then our response is the refrain, which is very interesting. It's a nice way to do it. There's all sorts of controversy when you get some of these musicologists who think that they know hymnody, and they decide that they're going to complain about this. There's so much trouble about why do we not have quote marks around God's words.
Oh, for heaven's sakes,
And
I
some
didn't
people
know
think
that.
that we're taking God's words and making them our own.
Oh
So,
my.
that's people
I
who have too
never-
much time on their
I
hands.
think so. I never considered that.
Yeah,
I never considered that the first half of it was my words.
I didn't either. Because it
I
says,
thought it was
I,
I,
the
the
Lord,
Lord.
see in sky, I have
Everybody
heard
knows
my
who that is.
people cry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think you're right. You have too much time on
too much time on their hands. There are better issues at hand.
Yes.
Anyway, this is a favorite of many, many people, and when we put out the list, I think there were 4 or 5 people who said that number
This is
812 was one of theirs. So,
Okay.
right, here we go.
I, the Lord of sea and sky, I have heard my people cry. Oh, dwell in deepest sin, my hand will save.
So we have a variety of hymnals. We have, what do we have? We have the Hymnal 1982.
Mm-hmm.
We have Wonder, Love, and Praise. We have Leave Us. And Hymnal 1940.
Yes.
Yeah, so Hymnal 1940 was obviously the one that came before Hymnal 1982. It was the official hymnal of the Episcopal Church for
40 years.
40 years, well, about 44.
Yeah, more than that.
Yeah, it was 1984 when the 82 came out.
Right.
Why didn't they just put an 84 on the front?
Oh, who knows? They're probably because they convened in 82. I don't know.
Maybe. Or maybe that was the due date and they
The
just
due
missed
date,
it by
they
2
missed it.
years. So we did have a couple requests for some hymns from the 1940 hymnal. And here is one. And I think that part of the conversation was why do we lose hymns from one hymnal to another one? I mean, there are hymns which are people's favorites that don't wind up in the new edition.
Well, and because it was Epiphany, I decided to do a comparison between the Epiphany hymns in the 1940 and there's a bunch of them in 1940 that are absolutely wonderful. They're all French-type carols.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they just did away with all of them, and I thought, well, what, does the committee have something against the French?
Likely.
Anti-Francois? Francais? Whatever.
We're going to have a freedom hymnal now,
Exactly.
No French.
Pure
hymn.
English.
So this comes from Hymnal 1940. This is number 353 in that collection. Its majestic sweetness sits enthroned. The text is by Samuel Stennett. He was a Seventh-day Baptist hymn writer. He succeeded his minister father as minister of the Baptist Church in Little Wild Street, Lincoln's Inn Fields in London. I love how they do
Little Wild
the
Street.
descriptions of
I know.
things. He was called to the Seventh-day Baptist Church in London, where his grandfather had served. He declined the call, yet he preached there every Saturday morning for 20 years while
Okay.
maintaining his own church.
Wow.
What?
Double duty.
Yeah, these people were hardcore, I
They
tell you.
certainly were.
And the tune is, so we music types, if we don't like a tune, we can certainly substitute with something else. And at the bottom of the page, for number 353, in the 1940 hymnal, it says, alternative tune, Horsley. So the person who really loves this hymn wanted it with Horsley. So Horsley was written by William Horsley, a Londoner, and he had an, I don't know what this means exactly, unfortunate early musical apprenticeship with an indifferent musician of the time. It didn't work out, apparently.
Yeah, well, evidently the musician at the time could care less about teaching. I bet you that.
That could be.
Yeah.
This is a side note, but Beethoven and Haydn,
Oh,
when
yes.
Beethoven went to Vienna, he wanted to study with the great master Haydn. Haydn could not stand this young guy, and Beethoven could not stand that old fuddy-duddy. So even though some of Beethoven's early works are dedicated to Haydn, it's more like, well, I guess that's what I'm supposed to
You
do.
have to do this.
I guess that was also an unfortunate early musical apprenticeship. So anyway, Horsley studied with his future father-in-law, with whom he founded Concentores Sodalis in 1798, which was a club encouraging the composition of glees and canons. Organist at Ely Chapel in Holborn, then he assisted at the Asylum for Female Orphans and became the organist there in 1802, stayed there until 1854. He helped to found the Philharmonic Society, and from 1829 he was a good buddy of our friend Felix Mendelssohn.
How about that?
Yeah. And the interesting thing is, if this tune, we're not quite sure what the date of this tune is, but if it dates from his early dates at the orphanage, this tune may have been intended for use by children.
It's a very singable tune.
It's a lovely tune.
It is a lovely
It
tune.
really is. In the 1982 hymnal, it's to There Is a Green Hill Far Away, which is a
Yeah.
children's hymn.
Oh, is it really?
Cecil Francis Alexander, yeah.
I
She was
didn't
the
know
lady
that.
who wrote it. She was the one who did Once in Royal David City.
Oh, okay.
So everything she wrote had the children's bent to it. So I like the text to this one very much. It comes from the general hymns section. Majestic sweetness sits enthroned upon the Savior's brow. His head with radiant glories crowned, his lips with grace o'erflow. It's really beautiful writing.
Very beautiful.
I like the third. To heaven, the place of his abode, he brings my weary feet, shows me the glories of my God, and makes my joys complete. Beautiful text.
Yep.
So, here it is.
Okay.
And your intro will be...
Thanks, everybody.
It was fun for the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And the others will be. So next week there will be 4 more hymns, and please send in your hymn recommendations, your favorite hymns.
Yeah.
Jean sent in a list of about 10,000 favorite hymns.
And actually, I could add some more to the list.
And many of her hymns are my favorites too, but I've got a whole bunch more too. So we may be here until sometime next year.
Exactly. 10,000 more days.
But please do it. Hymnody is such an important part. When I think about doing worship in the nave eventually, the thing that's going to really irritate me is not having a congregation down below singing hymns.
Yes.
That is the first and foremost thing. I love playing preludes, I love
Yeah.
playing postludes, I love doing choir work, but hymnody and sung liturgy,
That's what makes the service. That's what I love about our Episcopal tradition. I really do.
we are a singing church.
Yeah, we are. And okay, so who was the one that said, "He who sings prays twice"?
I've heard it attributed to many different people.
It's a famous.
Yeah, it's on the side of an opera house someplace in Salzburg or something.
Is it? Okay.
Someplace, yeah.
But it's so true. I mean, these hymns are prayers.
Yeah, their devotions and their
Devotions.
prayers,
Mhm.
and I do miss that.
Yeah.
So, all that being said, if there are hymns which mean something to you, like to know a little bit more about them, and maybe even sing along with us, then by all means let us know. In the little box down below,
Yeah. Where it says comments or old-fashioned email.
or which works best,
Yeah.
knowing my technological prowess. So, when the vaccine comes out and you're able to get it, please get it.
Oh gosh, yes.
And may we all get back together real soon.
Yes. Absolutely. Okay. God be with you. God be with you. God be with you till we meet again. By His counsels guide uphold you, with His sheep securely fold you. God be with you. God be with you. God be with you till we meet again.
Peace.
God's peace, everyone.